We'll get started here in just a minute. This is the PPCScope training for the basic account. The assumption is that you already have a basic account, or you're looking to upgrade from a free account to a basic account, and we'll go through as far as how best to use that. If you can hear me clearly, and you can also see the example screen as far as the free analysis report now showing, please put a 1 into the chat session, or also mention your name so that we know who's on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. This is Brian Johnson, and I am the moderator for the Facebook group Amazon PPC Troubleshooting, as well as one of the co-founders for the software PPCScope. The assumption, of course, here is that if you currently have a basic account or looking to upgrade to the basic account and want some basic overview as far as how to use the basic edition of PPCScope to better optimize, identify the issues with your account, with your advertising account on Amazon, as well as look for ways to optimize that and leverage that. I'm going to start out real quick by just kind of going over and just overview really quick on the free analysis report, and then I'll shift over to an example with the basic account. So on the free analysis report, it comes back, this is just an account level overview with a little bit of detail when it comes to the least and most effective search terms. Generally, the way that we do this is when you import a search term report into your account, your free account, your paid account, whatever, then it's going to come back, the system's going to come back and do some calculations for you. On the free report, it's going to do it at the account level. And so you're going to have your total account sales as a result of pay-per-click in green. You're going to have in the red box on top, you're going to have the total account ad spend for pay-per-click advertising. And then it's going to do the calculation for the advertising cost of sale, or ACOS, which is simply just the relationship between your ad spend and your account sales. It does show right above that, it does show a date code, as far as a date range, as far as what the range of the campaigns that are running during this particular time. Generally, a search term report goes back 60 days. You can import previous dates. In the paid account, in the, like I say, basic or professional enterprise, you have the ability to adjust those dates so you can focus in on a specific week or month or whatever the case is. Look at history. On the left-hand side, the advertising funnel includes everything during this, all the impressions for all of your accounts or for all of your campaigns, I should say, and all your ad groups and keywords during that time frame. Total of impressions, focusing down into the number of click-throughs that you had, and then finally into the number of orders that you had. Lower left, you can see that there is an average ad spend calculation. So this is referring to basically your advertising spend, so how much you spend on your advertising during this period, divided by the number of actual units that's sold. Units are typically approximately the same as orders, maybe a little bit more. And then the key benefit of the free report, or any of these reports initially, is going to be the most and least effective search terms. Let me see if I can zoom in this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So in these examples, what we're showing on the free report is just a 5 and 5, or a total of 10 maximum. Sometimes it's going to be weighted more heavily to the negative items if you have if you have more work to do. If you have more items that are earning a profit, then it's profit meaning the net difference between your gross sales and your advertising spend, then it's going to show those 5 in green, more or less. In the example data that we're showing here, I just kind of picked out some to work with just for introduction here in both of these cases here. So one of the things that we'll look at is if I'm going in here and I'm looking at, for this time frame, which is the last 2 months, I'll be looking at the most effective, which are highlighted in green. These are the ones that have the greatest difference, the greatest positive difference between gross sales and your advertising spend. So for instance, on this first one right here, it's going to show that blood pressure monitor is that first actual customer search term that seems to be converting the best. And it also, if you roll over the bar chart for that term, you can see the search term. You can see in parentheses, you can see the actual campaign name as well as the specific ad group. So in the case of, if I want to expand traffic, as an example as far as how I'd use this, I want to know which terms that are converting the best in advertising, so I can consider how do I optimize my product listing for better organic ranking. Because really, it's not so much I don't care necessarily about whether or not I get a huge amount of traffic or I'm showing #1 for my advertisements. What I'm concerned about is conversions, ultimately. I want to make sure that my ad spend and my ad budget is focused in on where I'm going to get the greatest return on my investment for my ad budget. And I want to make sure that my product listing is optimized in the title, the image, the bullets, the description, search term fields, all that, specifically toward the search terms that generate the most return on my investment again, so that my organic listing is ranking well for terms that convert, as well as my ads are being shown well for terms that convert. Makes sense, right? So these are my top 5. In this particular case, in this example. Now, when we're looking as far as where to trim, as far as where we're spending too much ad spend, in other words, where our where our ad spend is exceeding our gross sales, then I'm going to look at the worst 5. In this case, are the least effective 5 search terms. So in these examples, if we look at the very bottom one, the one that has a negative value of $25.11, this is saying that the difference between my advertising and my gross sales has resulted in a negative $25. Now, if you are, kind of a side note on that, is it because this doesn't take into consideration yet as far as what your cost of goods sold is. It doesn't know what your profit margin is for each product. It doesn't know yet. Certainly in the free version, it doesn't know the difference between as far as what's considered actually profitable for you. So you have to kind of make a judgment call on that one. If you are netting a positive difference of, say, $20, it may look good that you're making $20, but in reality, when you take out your advertising and sales costs, FBA costs, taxes, that type of thing, maybe it's actually not. Maybe it's breaking even. Maybe it's actually losing a little bit. But at least you have an idea when you go in here where to focus your attention on what you want to perhaps scale. And by scale, if I go back up here, blood pressure monitor, for example. Maybe I'm bidding on just blood pressure monitor and it's doing really well. Now I want to know what else can I do with it. I'll take that blood pressure monitor as a seed keyword. I'll put it out to use a tool like Merchant Words or AdWords or some of the other keyword research tools, and I will look to see what other related terms might be available that are similar to blood pressure monitor that may not have as much success as blood pressure monitor, but maybe maybe the variations will bring me in some additional traffic, additional conversions. It's ultimately what I want. So I will take those, if I do a bulk research and get a long list back from AdWords, for instance. AdWords is going to give me back a list of, like, say, 800 keywords. I'm going to dump those into a new manual exact match campaign and just test it over the next couple of weeks to see if I'm getting any kind of any click-through, if I'm getting impressions, if I'm getting click-throughs, and hopefully, ultimately, if I'm getting conversions. When I first start out that manual campaign, I'll typically go through and start with a fairly low bid. Exact match is going to be very targeted, but I'm going to start out with a fairly low bid, and I'm going to increase that over time so I can start seeing where I'm getting the best benefit. Now back to the negative side. On the red bars that are indicating the greater advertising spend and gross sales, looking at the worst one here, the most expensive one, I see in this example joint health in the PH Auto campaign and the Ad Group 1 ad group. That term is in there, and right now it's losing money. What I'll typically do right now, this is something you still have to do. Certainly with the free account, you'd have to go back and take a look at your search term report, and you want to look to see if there's other similar keywords to the related keywords to joint health that may be profitable or not profitable. Maybe joint health is definitely related to your joint health product, or maybe it's completely unrelated and you're just spending advertising dollars you don't need to. Generally, what I recommend if you're running an automatic campaign and that is not a relative term, or if that's just too expensive or too competitive of a term for you to really focus in on right now, then I will typically use a negative exact match in my auto campaign. If I'm running it in a manual campaign, what I'll typically do is I won't pause it. I'll simply just reduce it down to a lower bid. Maybe I'll cut my cost per click in half and see how it does over the next week. If I think that it's directly relevant, but maybe the competition is just too much, maybe it's just too expensive on a cost per click basis, then maybe what I'll do is I'll do additional keyword research, the bulk keyword research for joint health, as in this example, as a C word, into something like Merchant Words or AdWords, and come back with a whole large list of related search terms that, again, I put in similar to the way we're doing when we're trying to scale the ones that are working. We also want to look for alternatives to the terms that are not working if we think that it's got potential or it is relevant, just too expensive. So that way I will discontinue or reduce my my bid on a manual campaign that's running this expensive joint health term, for instance, or use the negative exact match in my auto campaign. When I create this new manual exact match campaign with the full list of 800 or so related keywords that AdWords gives me as an example. And that way, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for terms, a set of new customer search terms and keywords that may not have the same traffic as the original term, the seed keyword that I was looking at, like joint health in this example, but it may convert much better, and cumulatively, if I find 5 to 10 other related terms that convert at a much lower cost, I could change this from where I'm losing $25 to where I'm making $25 or better. You want to continue to do that. Just go right up the line here with the next one, next one, next one, next one. In the basic account, this is more expanded. You can drill down into specific campaigns and ad groups, and you can get you can drill down and see a longer list of those terms. Plus, you can adjust the dates so that if you are correcting any data, then if you've corrected data last week, then you can narrow your view down to say, okay, show me since I made that change. So that's it for my summary of the free report. I'll switch over to an example of the basic account. I do encourage you to post a question or just say, you know, just throw a mention in the chat that you either understand or you're confused on something, and so that I can cover it. All right. So then on this one, where is it? Hold on. Hopefully that's showing correctly. Oh, nope. Let me get this one going here. Okay, so hopefully this new one's showing here. This is going to be on the, this is actually the basic account when you're logged in. This is the primary dashboard. So we have a couple different views on this. We have the dashboard, we have a campaign detail view, and we have an ad group detail view. Product details not currently available, but it will become available with the paid accounts. But right now we've got dashboard, which is account level overview, campaign detail, where you can drill down to each campaign within your account, and then ad group detail, which you can drill down into each specific ad group. Let's see here. So just going through, you'll see that there is a similar layout to the free account. We simply just go into more in-depth, and you'll see that the layout will change the more you drill down into more focused data. So then on in this example here, what we're basically looking at is the same kind of data where I've imported it. This time on the basic account, your file upload is actually on the same page as the dashboard. And you can simply just go in and click on the file upload page, and it'll show you as far as the instructions as well as where you can import. Now, right now it does say that it can you basically import your latest search term report. You can actually import your campaign performance report. You can upload your the estimated page 1 bid report, your your account performance and SKU performance rather. So you can upload multiple reports, which I recommend start to do now so that it gets into your account. Because as we roll out the additional features that take advantage of, like for instance, I'll show you here in a minute when I drill down into the campaign level, there's other features that start showing up that take advantage of things like the campaign performance report or the estimated page 1 bid report. We're also going to include things as far as integration options with your Seller Central account that allow you to basically authorize this to automatically download these reports, build these tables, and then send out notifications to you if there's anything that, opportunities or threats that you need to be aware of. I apologize for that. Very sorry for that. That cough snuck up on me. Definitely my apologies. Okay, so hopefully if that didn't blow out your eardrums, then back on topic here. So similar to the free report, you'll see, of course, that the most and least effective search terms, it's a lot more extensive. You know, we basically doubled as far as what we're showing here, as far as the most effective and least effective, similar to what you're doing before. Maybe one of the things that you do, we're showing, we currently show duplications on here when there's different date ranges. The search term report uses date ranges as opposed to specific, you know, day to day. That's where the campaign performance report comes into play as far as day to day. So right now we are currently showing where we have duplications that to highlight the fact that there are different campaigns that have overlapping dates. We are considering, based off of some of our analysis, we're considering as far as how we want to group that together so it doesn't create any additional clutter, yet still focus your attention on what you need to work on or what opportunities are. One of the other things that that is really nice to have now in the basic account is this campaign table. So the campaign table will actually go in, and just FYI is that the video too, located down here under the support report summary, currently focuses on the free version. It goes into most of the detail on this here that I've already covered, but now is where we break out and start going into some more of the specific features of basic. So in this case here, what we have is a campaign table that, I'll zoom in here a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. What this campaign table allows you to do is that it gives you, collects a number of metrics that Amazon shows you some of this in Campaign Manager when it comes to a campaign. It shows you maybe impressions, clicks, orders or units sold, and maybe your ACOS. We go a bit farther. We're going to continue to expand this table to make it easy for you to identify quickly what you need to focus your attention on, what the big rocks are. So in other words, focusing in on, okay, where am I losing the most money? Where am I gaining the most money? What's my worst or my best ACOS? It's going to be a lot easier using a table like this. And then I certainly rely on these tables now even more than I ever did with Campaign Manager. This is also going to be available so that it's for each individual ad group, or the ad groups are going to show up within each individual campaign as well. So the way that I use this particular table is the column headers are clickable so that you can sort. And maybe what I'll do is I'll first of all check to see, okay, where am I, you know, what are my big winners here? And maybe I know, you know, from however I named my campaign titles to know which product that I'm working with and which one seems to be doing the best. Maybe if I'm on, in this particular session, if I want to go in and do, you know, expand on the traffic and you know, do some additional keyword research to try to scale that up, I'm going to look at where am I winning the most, and I'm going to leverage that. Alternatively, if you're looking to trim down your costs and look for where the problems are, I'm going to look at something like the adjusted revenue in the negative value, so that I can go in and I can see some of the different metrics. Like on this one here, I've got you know, obviously this is just sample data, but this is 291% ACOS. Obviously this is something where I want to focus in on. If there's no sales, that'll actually come back as a 999, just because it's kind of an infinite number because there's not really anything to base it on. That's basically where you're just spending advertising dollars, you're not getting any sales at all. And so maybe if ACOS is my biggest concern, maybe I'm going to look for, if I have a profit margin of say 25%, maybe I'll start looking at all the ones that are higher than 25 on my ACOS column. Maybe if I'm looking to, you know, determine as far as, okay, based off of each unit that I'm selling, the average ad spend per unit sold, which is the similar metric to what's here, I might find out that I've got some that are converting really well at the unit, but then I've also got some that are very expensive as well. So one of the things I'll focus in on, maybe if I look at this here, is if I'm looking at the negative on this, if I click on the specific campaign link, the link to the specific campaign, I can go in here and I can see in the specific campaign, of course, because we had because we have such a high negative net value on that campaign, when I come into the campaign view, I don't even have any green showing. That's kind of a big red flag for you. Instead of the top 10 showing green, where I have more than one product, more than one order that's showing up that would have been green, I have a whole list of things that I need to fix. Again, we are showing duplicates here because there are overlapping date ranges that occur that we're going to consolidate. But in the meantime, I can go in here similar to the way I would do on the free report on any of these. I can look at this chart and I can say, okay, what do I need to focus my attention on? Where am I hurting the most? Usually if I have, one of the things I'll highlight here on this is that usually it's not uncommon for me to find situations where I have a competing ASIN. So in other words, somebody else, where my ad is showing up on somebody else's product detail page, and if they're engaged in any kind of click fraud, then it's not uncommon for me to run into where I have an ASIN number showing in my customer search term list, and it's going to show up here, and I have a high negative value. I've seen accounts that as much as I was actually talking with one of my current clients who's also a user of the software. They used the software and they found that they had click fraud up of about north of $1,000, and even more than that actually, that they had to report back to Amazon and basically plug that hole. In this case, they simply just did a negative exact match of the capitalized version of an ASIN. One of the things that the search term report shows, it shows everything in lowercase for the customer search terms, and so it converts the ASINs to lowercase. You need to convert those back over to an uppercase when you do a negative exact match, so that Amazon knows to filter that out properly. Let me go back to a little bit more of a mid-range account here. Let's see here. Let me see actually if I can find one that has a mix. Nope, that one doesn't have any data on that one actually. Let's find the ones that actually have orders. Okay. So looking at, let's try this one. There we go. So this one gives us a little bit more of a mix. So in these cases here, we do have, obviously we do a number of date ranges that are overlapping on these here. There are, there's some different values involved here, but those are typically campaigns that that have been running, that maybe started and stopped at different times during the past 2 months. I can narrow that down by focusing in on a specific date range. Let's see here. If I do all the way down to November 1st, and you can see here that, okay, I still have more the date range there. Let me bring this back a little bit. So in this case here, again, similar, we're going through, we're identifying the big rocks and that are negative as well as positive. Positive I can scale, the big rocks I can, or the negative ones I can eliminate. One of the features that takes advantage of the campaign performance report, which is why I encourage you to start uploading that data now so you have that history, is going to be the ability to track the day-to-day impressions, clicks, and orders for your campaign or your ad group over time. We're going to have that down probably to the product level here pretty soon. Again, here I can go in if I've got multiple ad groups within this campaign. I have another table I can go through and look at, and I can I can basically do sorting, and I can drill down into a specific ad group and look at a very specific ad group in more detail. Now, one of the things I'll probably change on this one here shortly is I'm going to switch this over from this graph over to a table that's easy for you to cut and paste or copy and paste those terms over rather than looking at a chart. The chart is really good for visually identifying where the big issues are or the big opportunities are. So it's a really good visual example. But we do recognize that when you get down and start drilling down deeper and deeper, you really need to be able to have, you don't necessarily need the visuals anymore because you already know where you're focusing your attention. You simply just need the ability to copy and paste those terms that you can act on those. We have a number of other features that we're going to make available in the basic account, as well as, of course, the professional enterprise accounts. There's a very long list that we have on our development cycle. Some of those include of course, the integration with your Seller Central account to automatically bring down those reports for you on a regular basis. One of the things I would recommend that you do now is to go into your Seller Central account, into your reports menu and advertising reports page. Select each of those. I believe there's 5 there. 5 reports there out of the total 6 that are available. Go into each one of those and set up the automatic scheduling, the week-to-week scheduling. That way, because Amazon doesn't let you go back and say, well, show me last year for my advertising reports, you have to have already generated the report, and you can't do that. You can't see the history. You can't analyze the history of where I was 3 months ago versus where I am today if all you have is a current 2-month window. So start scheduling those now so that you have those ready to go. In a moment here, I'm going to start addressing any questions that you've posted. I will just talk just another minute here on some of the upcoming features that we're planning to come out. And some of those have to do with helping you to identify from a large list of search terms which ones, what some of the individual words or individual phrases within those search terms have a better value overall versus maybe a negative value overall. What that's going to allow you to do is to come up with new search term combinations and new search term ideas that allow you to do additional keyword research or to target more of your purchasing audience, as well as eliminate your more expensive audience. And an example on that is, let's say you have 100 different customer search terms that have been used. You may have a couple of different products, and you find that when customers are searching for your product name with the variation of blue in color, then maybe those are converting really well. And then every time that somebody does a search for red, all it does is spend your advertising dollars, and it doesn't ever convert. And so that identifying things like a single word like the color red out of an entire list is going to help you to understand which specific keywords, rather than eliminating an entire search term, identify which sub words within those customer search terms present either an opportunity or an expense that you can adjust for. Other questions or other features that we're looking at too, we're going to put in the ability to see things as far as duplicate keywords. For instance, when you have duplicates across multiple campaigns that may be causing cannibalism or splitting your traffic, we're going to be able to highlight that for you. Additionally, with the account integration, we'll be able to pull in some additional metrics to compare it to things like perhaps your business report data as far as your so that would basically allow you to see the difference between your organic sales, your promotional sales, and your pay-per-click sales. So you can see overall across your entire account. Amazon does a very poor job of basically they make you dig for all that information separately. We're going to be able to show that to you very quickly by being able to pull that data automatically, analyze it, put it together in a quick chart so that you can see the difference as far as where you're at on a day-to-day basis, the difference between your organic, promotional, which would be like coupons and such, and your pay-per-click. So you know exactly what your business is relying upon. Okay, so on to questions. So Tom, what do the values represent in the most and least effective search terms? So the values that are showing with the green bar is the actual dollar amount. So in this case here, for instance, if I look at Formula Extreme 41 as an example, that particular customer search term resulted in sales of gross sales of $158.45. Actually, I'm sorry, it's the net value. So it's the net difference between your ad spend and your gross sales. So let's say, for instance, your gross sales on that particular search term were $200 and you had $42 in advertising spend, you netted $158.45. So for Tony, would it make more sense to focus on the lowest ACOS or the highest adjusted revenue? I generally go for the highest adjusted revenue simply because we're referring to as far as the, like say the campaign title here. The highest adjusted revenue generally is going to, these numbers work in pairs, so they're going to have different meaning depending on how many sales you have, of course, how many units you sold. But I generally focus on where is the most cash flow coming in, positive cash flow coming in when I'm looking for opportunities to scale. Conversely, I'll look at the greatest negative adjusted revenue so I know where I've got some big holes I need to plug. Back to Tom. As far as the ASPUS, the average ad spend per unit sold. Oh, okay, you already, okay. Sorry. So that one's already answered, I guess. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So one more here, and then we'll wrap it up, it looks like. So Omar, as far as before we upload the search term report file, should we filter out old data campaigns that you stopped a long time ago? So you certainly could do that. We generally prefer that you upload the native .text file that Amazon provides to you. That way, make sure it's a clean upload and it's basing on the data. Oftentimes, when people go in and they modify the reports, they kind of make some modifications that they don't really necessarily know what the impact is when it is run in a system like this. A search term report, as an example, is only going to go back 60 days. So by a long time ago, yeah, it could have been last month. In Basic. So in a basic plan, you do have the ability to simply just narrow it down. So for instance, if you stopped it in, let's say you had data back from September, I might put like say an October 1st start date as far as, and this is the last impression date range. So this is basically saying that you had a campaign that was running up to a date that it was inclusive of this date range. So for instance, if I stopped a campaign in late September, if I have a start date of October moving forward to today, then I'm going to filter out the ones that I had stopped back in September. So I can update that, and you can see that the numbers adjust a little bit here. I can go even further and say maybe I stopped something in October. Maybe, you know, so I'll update the last date range to start in November. It's going to narrow it down even further. Now, most of these campaigns for this particular, the sample data here has been very recent. It's been in the past, you know, month or two. If I want to do it, you know, let's see if I have this early as last couple of weeks. Yeah, see, it trims it way down, so that this is actually a really good way, especially if you made a recent change that maybe eliminated, you know, some of your best or some of your worst issues. You might simply put in a date that is right after when you made that change, so you can observe what the next big rocks are. And obviously the sample data that I have is not that recent. Okay. All right, so then as far as the other question, as far as when will the other paid features be available on PPCScope? So we're going to continue to roll out these features as we have them tested and, you know, properly tested and available. Some of the, you know, earlier ones, you'll probably see changes that'll get rolled out that are going to be available for the basic plan. You know, on a, you know, every couple of weeks, we'll probably roll out some new feature that we've actually gone through and done testing on. So look for those changes. We'll go ahead and announce those additions of the new features as they roll out. Once we reach a certain threshold of features that are also part of that we've developed on the back end that may not be available in the basic account but are available in some of the upper level accounts, we'll go ahead and mention that to say, hey, you know, these other plans, more advanced plans, are available, and for those who may be, you know, those who sign up for the upper level plans, you know, the more advanced plans, will immediately start seeing those features as they roll out. But this is going to continue to progress. We're going to continue to add this. We've got some amazing things that we've got in the works right now, but we want to make sure that we are developing at a pace that we can properly test it and get feedback from the user base, including each of you, so that we understand that this is in fact, you know, delivering what you need, as well as continuing to be very progressive as far as the new features that we're rolling out that simply are just not available. First of all, it's not available anywhere else, but it's not even available through Campaign Manager. So we're pretty excited about a lot of what we're putting, or what we currently have in development. So the question as far as how to increase the profit level on profitable search terms, I did cover that already. So I'm not sure what clarification you want on that. I think I went into pretty good detail on that. That had to do with scaling up the individual search term using bulk keyword research and a targeted exact match campaign that you scale up. So hopefully that was covered well enough. If you need me to go into more detail on that, I can certainly go ahead and follow up with me after the call, and we can cover that directly. Okay, so then, yeah, I mean, if you just jump the call, go ahead and check back a little bit earlier. I did cover how to scale, as far as scale those keywords. Basically, kind of summarize that piece of it. It basically just goes back to, you take the search terms that are profiting the most, have your best ACOS, and you use those to do additional keyword research on tools like Merchant Words or AdWords, pull back a large list of keywords, put those into a manual exact match campaign with a fairly low bid, and gradually increase your bid for that campaign from week to week until you collect some new data and identify new search terms that can expand your traffic profitably. And then you can basically combine those into basically a profitable campaign that you can continue to optimize and scale with a larger budget. Let me know if you certainly roll out, reach out to us. One of the things that we have on the bottom, of course, we do have a contact support link that goes to a form. Make sure that if you see any issues, if you see any, this is we're constantly developing, and so as with any software, there's going to be some unexpected changes or some data that you may not understand how it's presented. Be sure and reach out to us through the contact support form. This is available on the homepage, and if there's any kind of account login issues, or within the specific dashboard, campaign, or ad group level, where you can reach out to us for additional support. So I would say at this point, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the call. If you're currently not a basic member, I would definitely sign up. We've got, right now it's the basic account is just $15 per year. I'm sorry, $15 per month. Excuse me. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? $15 per month. This is part of our launch promotion that is going to increase on January 1st. And so if you lock in the $15 per month now, then you'll be protected from the rate increase that it comes on January 1st. And you can do that right from the home page if you're not already on there. Let's see here. Come on, homepage. There we go. You can just click on the register or create a new account, and that'll get you the basic plans. And actually, we did just add in this 7-day trial too, so there's no risk right now. Obviously, you lock in the $15 per month rate before we go up. And then at any point, when we do actually roll out the upper level plans, such as the professional, you'll be able to upgrade pretty easily, and that'll get applied over to the cost of the professional plan with those features. So thank you very much. Reach out and let us know if you have any further questions, and get signed up. Thanks.